December 19, 1944. Luxembourg. The Ardennes forest was frozen solid. Snow covered the roads, the trees, the fields, everything, and in that white silence, German panzer divisions were ripping open the American front faster than anyone had believed possible. Inside Third Army headquarters, General George S. Patton stood over a map table, watching the crisis unfold in real time. A thick red line showed the German breakthrough. A bold circle marked Bastogne, and a long distance, nearly 90 miles, separated his army from the men now surrounded inside that town. That morning, Supreme Commander Dwight Eisenhower gave Patton an order that sounded almost insane. Stop your current offensive. Turn your entire army 90 degrees north, and relieve Bastogne as fast as humanly possible. Most commanders would have asked for a week. Patton said, "I can attack in 3 days." But the next problem wasn't German tanks. It was one of Patton's own generals. Because one of his division commanders looked at the mission and tried to slow it down. And Patton had no patience for hesitation. Not when American soldiers were dying by the hour. To understand why this moment mattered, you have to understand what Germany was trying to do. The Battle of the Bulge was Hitler's last gamble in the West. The plan was brutal and simple. Smash through the thin Allied line in the Ardennes, push to the Meuse River, take Antwerp, and split the British and Americans apart. If it worked, it wouldn't just delay defeat. It might force the Allies into negotiations. And in those first few days, it looked like it might work. American units were scattered. Communication lines collapsed. Entire roads were clogged with retreating troops, refugees, abandoned equipment, and deep inside Bastogne, the 101st Airborne Division, along with other units, found itself completely surrounded, outnumbered, low on ammunition, running out of medical supplies, and under constant artillery fire. Bastogne wasn't just a town, it was a road hub. 7 major roads met there. If Germany took Bastogne, they could move armor and supplies freely across the center of the battlefield. If the Americans held it, the German advance would choke. So the siege tightened. And the defenders waited. They didn't know if help was coming. They didn't even know if the Allies still controlled the roads outside. But Eisenhower knew this. If Bastogne fell, the Bulge might become something far worse. So he turned to Patton, because Patton was the one commander who had built his entire reputation on speed. And not just speed, relentless aggression. Patton didn't believe in holding and waiting. He believed in movement, in pressure, in attacking before the enemy could breathe. He once said that in war, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. And this crisis was exactly the kind of war Patton believed in. Third Army was already engaged to the east, pushing toward the German border. But Patton was willing to pause everything. Not slowly, not carefully, immediately. He needed 3 divisions to disengage, pivot north, move in brutal weather, and hit the southern flank of the German penetration. The maneuver itself was massive. Convoys stretching for miles. Tank columns stuck on icy roads. Artillery pieces dragged through snow. Supply trucks sliding off the shoulder. Military police desperately trying to keep intersections from turning into traffic knots. It was a nightmare. But Patton didn't care about perfect conditions. He cared about one thing: get through. Now here's where the story changes. The division Patton chose to lead the relief was the 4th Armored Division. On paper, it was a strong choice. Combat experienced, battle-tested, fast. And its commander, Major General Hugh Gaffey, was not incompetent. He was professional, a planner, a man who valued coordination. But as the 4th Armored moved north, Patton started hearing things that triggered his worst instinct. Delays, stops, requests for more preparation, more reconnaissance, more time. Gaffey was reporting strong German resistance, tough terrain, and he wanted to slow down the attack. From a normal commander, that would sound reasonable, but nothing about Bastogne was normal. Inside that encircled pocket, men were bleeding out, freezing, running out of bandages. Every hour mattered. So on December 23rd, Patton drove directly to Gaffey's command post. He didn't send messages. He didn't wait for reports. He went himself. And witnesses later said Patton walked in like a storm. He demanded a status update. Gaffey explained his situation. He said German positions were strong, anti-tank guns in villages, roadblocks, mines. He wanted to delay the main push to coordinate a more organized breakthrough. A 24-hour delay. Patton's response was sharp. He basically told him Bastogne doesn't have 24 hours. The Germans were tightening the noose, and every delay was paid for in American lives. Then Patton issued his order. Attack now. Break through. Reach Bastogne. No waiting. No excuses. Gaffey didn't outright refuse, but he kept emphasizing risk, casualties, preparation, the need for more support, and Patton knew exactly what was happening. A commander wasn't refusing the mission. He was trying to slow it down until the mission became impossible. Patton asked him a blunt question. Can you do it, or can't you? Gaffey said he could, but he still wanted his concerns recorded. Patton didn't care about the record. He cared about results, and this is where Patton did something that defined his leadership style. He didn't relieve Gaffey on the spot. That would have created chaos. Instead, he bypassed him. Patton left that headquarters and drove to a subordinate unit commander. The man who was known for one thing: violent speed. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams. Abrams commanded one of the key tank battalions inside 4th Armored. He wasn't cautious. He wasn't slow. He wasn't interested in perfect plans. He was the kind of commander Patton loved. Direct, aggressive, and willing to take risk if it meant winning. When Patton met Abrams, he didn't waste time. He essentially told him, "You will lead the push to Bastogne. You will move fast. You will not stop unless you are forced to stop. You will bypass enemy strongpoints when possible, destroy them when necessary, and keep going." Abrams asked the obvious question, what resistance should I expect? Patton's answer was pure Patton. I don't know, and I don't care. Then he gave Abrams what mattered most: authority, priority for support, and the message that hesitation would not be tolerated. Because Patton feared one enemy more than German tanks. He feared delay. Now fate played its part. December 23rd brought something the Allies had not seen in days. Clear skies. The clouds broke, and suddenly Allied aircraft could fly again. P-47 Thunderbolts returned to the battlefield. Fighter bombers hunted German vehicles on the roads. Air power, which had been grounded by weather, came back like a hammer. Abrams attacked. And he attacked the way Patton wanted. Fast columns. Armor and infantry moving forward like a blade. When German roadblocks appeared, Abrams didn't stop to study. He called artillery. He pushed through. If a village was defended, he hit it hard and kept moving. German anti-tank guns knocked out American tanks. It cost lives. But it didn't stop the momentum. And momentum was the weapon. German defenders expected Americans to pause, reorganize, bring up more units, attack slowly. Instead, Abrams did the opposite. He kept accelerating. One captured German officer later admitted something chilling. They couldn't adjust. Their defenses were designed to delay a careful enemy, not an enemy that refused to slow down. By December 26th, Abrams' lead tanks finally broke through the last resistance and made contact with the defenders of Bastogne. The siege was cracked open. Supplies could flow in, reinforcements could follow, and the German offensive lost one of its most important chances to succeed. Bastogne did not fall, and from that moment forward, the Battle of the Bulge began to turn. Not because the Germans lacked courage, not because they lacked tanks, but because time ran out. Patton's relief attack helped destroy the momentum Hitler needed. Now what about General Gaffey? Patton didn't publicly ruin him. He kept him in command, but he never trusted him with another mission where speed was life or death. Patton had learned something simple: a cautious commander might win in normal situations. But in a crisis, hesitation becomes a weapon for the enemy. And Abrams became a legend, a symbol of armored aggression. so respected that decades later, America's main battle tank would carry his name, the M1 Abrams. This story isn't just about Patton's temper, or about a commander being harsh. It's about one of the hardest truths in war. Sometimes a perfect plan is useless, because there isn't time. Bastogne didn't need a flawless operation. It needed help before the defenders collapsed. And Patton understood something many leaders struggle to accept. In a crisis, action is mercy. Delay is cruelty. Patton didn't win the Battle of the Bulge alone. Thousands of soldiers held the line, fought in frozen forests, and died to slow the German advance. But Patton's decision to force speed and empower the right man to lead the push helped save Bastogne and helped break Hitler's last major offensive in the West. So here's the question. Was Patton right to bypass a cautious commander and gamble everything on speed? Or should he have trusted Gaffey's judgment and accepted the delay? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more true stories of WWI decisions that shaped the battlefield, subscribe now.